Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for staying for the last panel of the day, after which we have some delicious food and some drinks as well. So today we're going to be talking about kind of a story arc in its own right, so how we get from the concept of content all the way through to the production. And we have a fantastic breadth and depth of panelists to lead us through this journey. I'm an analyst, and my job tends to pick up a little bit after a series has been produced, or at least been greenlight. And I've been told it's not a simple process, or not as simple as perhaps I thought it was. So we're going to start there. So we're going to delve through what happens at the formation of the concept. At what point it is correct to start thinking about investment strategy above that of the concept itself. We're going to talk about techniques we're using there, the role the industry itself needs to play or needs to do to support or creatives as they're in that process. So communication and strategy key. And we're going to finish on a few sort of more fun topics around culture and sort of flexibility in that space. So let's kick off right at the start. Let's kick off right at the concept. Again, as a slightly production ignorant person, there's a formation of an idea. At what point do we take that from a nice idea, the start of a passion project, to something which actually leads to thinking about investing seriously in what that is? Perhaps we even talk about what that investment means. I mean, Anna, you had a thought there. Why don't we start on defining investment, and then we'll talk about what to do about that.
Okay, thank you very much. So I start, yeah, we had a prep talk, and then he came up with the first question, at what time do you invest? And then I was like, okay, what do you mean by investment? Is it only finance? Is this time? Is it dedication? Is it personal thoughts? I mean, you invest so much in a project, not only in your professional life. I mean, it follows you. And if you don't love what you're doing, then it's, I mean, of course we all know. So, from the professional side, investment for us starts very early because I'm part of Beta's CoPro and content unit, and we, that's a natural thing, we read in very early stage. We enter projects that hook us, that inspire us, that really catch up on pitch basis or on script basis or in a later stadium, whatever. But the most important thing is the creative idea, the creative approach, the creative vision, and actually then also the passion of the creators. And it's not only the passion, it is how much is your business partner able to contribute all his power for this project. Because you are boarding a long journey. You are going on a long trip together and you spend a lot of time together, you're fighting, you're reuniting, but all for the project. And if you wanted to go on that journey together, then please choose your partner very carefully, and this is our investment.
So even at the start of the process, defining investment in yourself as well as outside. Emmanuel, you had a point here as well, talking about Bible versus sort of synopsis before you even start on that process. Similar stuff. At what point do you know whether it's worth sinking a lot of time into your project?
Well, like Anna said, it's really a question of timing. When we received a concept, basically a concept is rather easy to find. And when we receive the concept, or a Bible, or synopsis, or project, we have two reactions. Either it's a high concept, say, oh, it's very original, I had never seen that before, or it's what we call maybe an evergreen, say, okay, I know where we are going, I know the characters, I know what we are doing with that. And then it all depends on what we need. If you are a broadcaster, a commissioner, distributors, or everything. So I would say it really depends on the timing, when we receive a project, if we need more evergreen show or a must-have show, and then we analyze it depending on our needs. Mm-hmm. But it can be only 2 lines as a concept, and then we have to work, and that's the most important part. Working with the author or the scriptwriter, or both, to find a way to make a concept an idea, and then a synopsis, then a script. But it's a long process.
Perfect. Dana, I can see you itching.
She's not okay with me.
You're making it sound so easy. It's like from this to this to this.
Exactly. I think you have some experience of this space.
It's really hard, and it takes a really, really long time. And ideas, like you said, everybody has them. But more than an idea and more than, I would even say investment is really, are you up for it? Is the team up for it? Do you understand what it means to write 6 or 8 episodes? Do you know how much actual narrative needs to go into place, what your hooks are, how are you going to retain your audience? All that needs to be figured out way before you go out and ask people for money. You need to understand the medium, you need to understand an audience, and most importantly, you need to know what audience this is geared towards. Mm-hmm. And when you go to distributors like yourselves, at that stage you should have your primary and hopefully secondary commissioner, and henceforth the person taking you to your actual primary audience in place. So you need to answer all those questions way before you ask people to invest or go to a distributor and say, I think this has international potential. So I would say, know your business, make sure that you're up for telling it, make sure you understand how long it all takes, and who are you telling it to, or who ideally would you like to tell it to?
I like it. So in that space, you're talking a lot about having like quite a defined and sophisticated understanding of what this piece of content is. Is that like an inside out thing, or is it outside in? So is it the idea that leads that, and you develop that, and you build that information based on what you understand that piece of content to be? Or is it the other way around? Are you looking at the investors and saying, actually, I know that they want this kind of thing, so I'm going to change a little bit of...
You're going to be changing all the time. You're going to be changing while you're shooting. You're going to be changing in the edit room. You're going to be changing when you hear it from marketing. You're going to be changing anyway. So it's very dynamic. And by the way, people who don't want to change, don't do television. Write a book.
Exactly.
And work with your editor, or work with one person. This is a very collaborative business, and there are many, many stakeholders because it's extremely expensive. And people want to take care of their investment, so they will have an opinion.
That's why also a concept is very interesting, but it's stretching. It's very flexible. So unless you have a very high concept with some very, very strong things in it, but otherwise your concept will change, will morph, depending on your first broadcaster, your first investors, your ratings, or many things. So it's the first step, but you will have many, many steps before. It's a long dance.
Unless I would just say, unless you're very, very established and have a very distinct DNA and a really long track record, which I dare say in this market, none of us have. But certainly in the US, if we looked at that, or obviously in the UK, there's a DNA, right? If you're Ryan Murphy, you can come in and go, I want to do this, and people go, okay, just do it, because they know that you know what you're doing. They know your distinct DNA. They know the relationships that you have. They know you can work with writers and get funding. Barring that sort of identity, it really is doing a lot of the heavy lifting before you look for financing.
I partly disagree.
That's why we're here.
Good.
That's how we are. I mean, that's our business. I would say that the creative vision has to be stable, no matter what. And I would like to use another picture, because if you have a composition, like music, you can make it with a big orchestra, you can make it with only one instrument. You can play it wherever, in a cellar, or, I don't know, a sun deck, machine room. It is still the same composition. It is still the same melody. This a little bit figures the creative vision. Of course, you can do a series with a lot of money. It's very easy to blow a production up and to enhance the production value if you have a lot of money. But of course, you can tell the same story with little money. If you stay close up or you follow the characters closely, it is all about the how. If you know that you're sure about the what or the who, So it depends. I mean, and this is why the concept, of course, is changing constantly according to the partners, but the creative vision has to be stable.
Is that influenced slightly from what you were talking about at the start? It feels like you seem to place more stability on the investors, perhaps. So you seem to have a more concrete idea of exactly who the partners are. Maybe there's a difference in approach, maybe?
Well, I mean, projects come to us in really very different stages. And I mean, they come to us when they're ready. And then, of course, we are trying to pick which are the best broadcasters, which is the best place to offer it. Where is the audience? I mean, this is exactly that. Because you want to do the best for the project, you are boarding, and then, of course, you're looking for the perfect partner. But if you have on idea basis or on concept basis or whenever you team up, then everything is possible. And this is a long journey. And then you, of course, have to make some choices, and none of us is free from failing, and not ever. So, I mean, but this is the way you do together, and this is a commitment you do.
I like it. I'm going to come back to sort of creative flexibility, perhaps, in a moment. I just wanted to jump into where am I going with this? Oh yeah, the kind of other side of the story. So looking at sort of Alex, maybe from your perspective, if we start thinking about how the other side of the conversation is going, where funding is available, what does that look like? What works? What doesn't work? What do you hate? What do you love?
I mean, first of all, in this conversation, I'm the most privileged one because we are top of financing. So after they struggled a lot, they ran into these people with different opinions about what is happening. One of them might have been convinced. Some broadcasters, I don't know if they are in the room, but might have been also, should have been on board. So then they would come to us and we would support them, as we are not investing, because we are a public organization. So we use the money that are made available to us by the member states that are part of this program. And we also have a bit of a privilege because we don't look it from the commercial perspective. Of course, you have broadcasters, you have the parties around that who are supporting, and they are looking at the revenues, they're looking at the audience, fair thing. But then for us, it's important that there are certain type of projects that are maybe not so easily funded by the market money. So if there is a possibility to jump in and support this type of projects with non-reimbursable grants, take a bit of the edge of those who have more risk in the market, but to allow to have a larger diversity of projects, themes, topics, languages, then it's a thing. Then in terms of taste, I mean, we don't have a taste.
Not our test, at least.
Not only one.
Yes.
Tibor, you've got like multiple layers, like a delicious cake in this respect.
I'm flattered.
I'm thinking of your sort of your current role at NFI for sure, but also from your past. I think you've had a range of experiences from multiple dealing with sort of a plethora of opinions all the way through to actually on the funding side as well. So where do you feel with it?
Yeah, actually, it's really great because I always I was in acquisitions, so I was in content acquisitions and programming for a long time, so 20-something years, and I always wanted to try what to be on the other side of the table. So now I'm doing mostly international sales, so distribution for content that is literally supported by the Hungarian Film Institute. We are a strange animal because we are supporting, obviously from Hungarian taxpayers' money, or most of the audiovisual content in Hungary, but we are also able to do the distribution, the international distribution, which most of the film funds or film institutes they don't really do it. So we keep an eye on content that makes sense at the end of the day to be produced not just for the local viewer, but something that has also international appeal. Of course, there are a lot of content which applies only for domestic audiences. We don't have to represent all of these titles internationally, so we picked the ones that has the appeal, or we feel that has the appeal. Obviously, there is a little bit of change in the way that pitching, for example, is structured inside the company, because a lot of producers came and pitched this project, that passion project, that whatever it was, and it was really hard to tell them, okay, that your project is I'm sorry, I know you feel very much about that. I know you want to tell this story, but like Dana said, what will be the audience? What's the audience? Who will really absorb this? So we have to reject a lot of people, unfortunately. Now the change is that when it comes to script development, for example, for the scripted part, when it comes to script development, especially TV series, there is a change of pace in taking more to make the producer more autonomous. He or she also has to, if there are multiple producers, they have to designate their own developer. So there's a show developer who will come and work with them, who are really professional from the media sector, because previously it was the NFI's people who were designated to do that. At the end of the day, it didn't really make sense. And the biggest problem, the biggest challenge is that we are very strong on festivals. Yeah, we have great titles. We had, the institute has its predecessor. The Film Fund was funded in 12 years ago, and from that moment on, we are on the scene of festivals. But we want to have the crowd pleasers and audience crowd pleasers. Mm. So now we switch a bit towards we really want to see more projects, and that we push for that to have this balance between festival hits and titles and content that applies to a much wider audience. So that's hopefully it's going to change into more balanced way.
Exactly. I'm just going to pick up on one thing you said there. You were talking about passion projects. This part of that process feels very alien to me, because I do understand that you could have an idea that you adore, and perhaps it's not very practical, whereas you could have a very practical idea that you don't really adore. Mm-hmm. How do you know the difference? How do you know when your passion project isn't a work of genius? So effectively, let's talk about that creative flexibility. How do you know when to stand your ground and when to push? Is it the research, or is it more than that? Is it the artistic nous?
I mean, I can speak for myself personally. I was also heading acquisitions for 18 years, and I worked for a broadcaster. So I hope I can tell the difference between my taste and an audience's taste, and know that they're not the same. But as a producer, you have projects that you champion for a long time, and they go nowhere, and you let them go. In the end, we make a living off this, hopefully. And we also do things that we might not be as passionate about, but we know they can sell. And like Mark said on the previous panel, if somebody's offering you money, take it. In this business, do it. Don't be a snob. Don't wait for that one thing that you really want to do, but do work when you can get it. And learn when to let go.
Yeah, and I would really add on, we are not only here to do passion projects. We all do this for a living, and not only us, but all the creators outside. And there's a need for projects, and you have to know your market. You have to know your local creative landscape. You have to know if there's a need for broadcasters, what slots are they offering, what program is needed, what slot is worth in budget-wise, what can you offer and when, what is the structure? If you want to be a producer and you want to make a living out of it seriously, then it would be good to have a cooking show, something, or your whatever, and then you have time to do your passion projects. You can't live on pressure. Sorry.
I would say just to add something, it's 80% of experience, 80% of knowing the market and knowing what you have to do to have a successful project. Sorry. But sometimes there's also some project you really want to do. But it is always related to your experience. After something like 30 years of reading scripts and analyzing TV series and everything, sometimes I allow myself to trust my guts. But it's very, very recent. So it's sometimes I say, okay, I'm not sure about myself. I'm not sure because there is a lot of things which could be a red flag for the market, but something tells me, so it's not passion, it's more something like, yes, guts or feelings or something like that.
Experience.
So maybe experience, but yes. But this is very rare. Usually it's just, okay, we have something with the audience or the clients or they want this, so let's try to gather all the things to give it to them.
And also things come and go. That's another thing. Trends come and go. There's, beautiful stories about things being dormant for a decade and then coming out at the right time. So be also mindful of that. The best example I could think of recently is The White Lotus, which we all love.
I love it too.
And can't wait for season 3. But that show, Mike White was trying to sell it for years, and nobody wanted it, put it on the back burner, and then there was COVID. And suddenly people said, do you have anything in an enclosed space? Oh, look, a hotel. And suddenly it made sense. So be mindful of those sort of things happening. Squid Games is another great example. It was a film nobody wanted to touch for a decade. Netflix came into the market and said, bring me the things nobody else is buying. And his producer had the idea of turning it into a series, and history is being made. So also be mindful that sometimes things are not right for now, and they could come back, and opportunities could present themselves.
Timing and luck are very, very important.
Yes, timing.
Because without luck, it's very difficult in this market because so many partners, and timing, of course, is important. But timing is important because you know your market. And now we know what the audience wants, or we supposedly know.
But on the money and on the time, I think that another thing is that sometimes patience, which is not necessarily something that it's, especially in series, it's not there always. But I think that sometimes as we work we work only with producers, with independent producers, it is difficult to find all the money, and sometimes you think that, okay, you go to this place because you will get this grant, but sometimes it is too early. And even though you might tick all the boxes and everything on paper looks fine, we see between the lines that this is not going to work out. And it proves in the end that it's not going to work out, and it's actually not working for you as a producer because you got stuck. So sometimes it's a matter of understanding exactly where you are and be a bit conscious about that.
And it's about coming back to knowing your local market. It's what are the broadcasters in the regions are offering, and how open do they communicate their needs, their strategies? Do they have a strategy? Do they have a proper schedule? I mean, we in Germany, we have really slots. You know exactly when you turn in. Thursday night, HRD, you have a crime. You have postcard crime. You can submit, okay, so we have Croatia, we have Greece, we have Ireland, we have everything. We don't have Macedonia. So please, if you want to do a postcard crime, you know where to submit. So if there's a chance. Producers should be really aware what is on the market, what is available. And of course you can write according to that need. And you can make daily, everyday bread project, you can make it as a project, as a passion project, because then it's a time of invest again, coming back to that. It has to pay off somehow, balanced.
That's a really good segue. Broadcasters. Do we have any broadcasters left in the room? There were some on some panels before.
We're just broadcasted.
Okay.
No, but
what a shame.
They were afraid of you.
Okay. So we'll be polite for the cameras. Yeah.
We have people who worked for broadcasters on the panel.
At least.
Okay. Let's start there then. In our sort of our briefing chats, there was some sort of pretty well defined thoughts around how broadcasters give a lot of security, I think is probably the word I'm looking for, in terms of where producers can expect to at least get some kind of idea of which ideas are kind of in the zeitgeist, or at least in current demand. But perhaps they're not the best at communicating this. Where shall we start? Tibor,
Yep.
picking on you.
It's for you.
Do you agree with that? Is there a difficulty there? Is it more of a two-way conversation? What do you think about the responsibility there?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is to prove that the projects you're coming with and you want to pitch and you want to sell to broadcaster is something that they are interested in. The problem is that most of the broadcasters, especially in Hungary, but I think I watch all in the region C, so as you mentioned, they're playing on safe bets. So if it's a non-scripted show, they go on and on and on for the same formats. You're not even able to enter the scene because those production companies are working constantly. So 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever they are, they're working constantly on the same productions year and year and year and year, and season by season. When it comes to scripted, you have a little bit more, probably a little bit of you can have a little bit more attention. But then it comes to the situation. Okay, how are we able to budget this? How can we bring them the money? It was a point when I used to work at RTL that was an instance when they said that whoever wants to pitch a scripted project has to present at least half or one pilot episode. There was no producer who were able to finance that. And then RTL said, okay, if you cannot do this, we cannot say anything and come back later. So there were a couple of producers who did that. And I watched some of these pilots who were that were turned into series, that were actually series projects. And of course, I saw the difference because they have to put together something as a pilot, and it looked mostly awful. But the idea was so great that at least the broadcaster decided, okay, we want to give it a try, and they were successful. So there were 2, 3 seasons even produced afterwards. But it's really hard to get in, and for example, in Hungary, the environment is changing every time. So RTL came with RTL Plus, which is their own local SWOD service. Oh, it was great. They announced they were going to produce, 15, up to 10, 15 scripted series per year. And they produced 6 or 7. One was actually here, The King, last year, which was second in a row won an award. And then they stopped doing it because they acquired Champions League, so there's no more space for scripted because they spend the money on Champions League, and of course that delivers bigger numbers and bigger number of subscribers comes in and so on. So it's really hard to navigate in this environment. So when should I step in? With what should I step in? So it's a bit complicated. It's much easier in Western Europe when that's more and more established. We see a little bit of a...
Yeah, and you're talking about private investors, so I'm talking about public broadcasters. I mean, we should really not put it all in one pot, because public broadcasters have a different responsibility. They are the gatekeepers also for the cultures. They are providing a dialogue for the society, and they have simply a different mindset, or should have. Of course, we all need to earn money. We want to be economically successful. That is totally out of the questions. But I mean, I think that that programming for a public broadcaster should be guided from another perspective. Of course, you want to have your audience, but you are the first to provide for your audience, so you have to make an offer. I mean, in Germany, we used to have on Monday night an experimental slot. That was really Monday night, 11 o'clock, and people were able to just submit real feature films, experimental stuff, and you didn't know what you get, but it was also a really nice, it was a playground. And a lot of talents came out of this experimental Monday night. I mean, Monday night, nobody watches on Monday night, but it became a very famous slot, for example.
It's a very privileged place to be.
Yeah, well, public broadcasters
In
run
Germany.
by Texas, so I mean, you know, so they
In every country, yeah.
it's you can provide culture, experimental playground if you are paid by Texas. And actually, this is I think this is the best part with public money. What you can do with public money: provide culture, content, dialogue. Yeah, einfach.
I think
how to
the-
say? Yeah, please.
Sorry. No, but coming from me, I think this is, and I presume what you might say, and I'm somewhere in the middle. But I think that today or tomorrow, it's actually it's an opportunity for the public broadcasters. Okay, those who have already money, those who have no money, or those who have some money but they don't necessarily look into the direction of putting into scripted content. Let's talk about that. I think that it's an opportunity to look also to other funding sources like national funds, and then to use the independent producers and to work together for those projects that maybe they don't have the money for that, or they never thought about putting the money. Except the situations where they cut the money completely, and that's a different discussion.
Or trying to close channels completely. Wonder where. But I think you're looking at me saying I'm going to go the entire commercial route and saying that without an audience, television doesn't exist. But I do believe there is a tension there, and there is a necessity for both. I'm also aware that this is a very privileged situation to be in, when you can still afford to experiment and know that audiences might not necessarily come, but you are growing talent, you're giving opportunity, you're giving diversity, you're giving voice, you're raising issues. Maybe not as many people have seen, but maybe they will read the reviews, or they'll watch clips, or they'll see some discussion. There definitely is hope that that happens as well, but also on the other hand, television is entertainment.
Yeah, but I mean, you can have good content and be entertainment at the same point. I mean, I would like to share a very nice success story. We had this morning on the very first panel when Robert said he is very proud of our series Scum, which is very successful, having great ratings, it's very well received here. And we are very proud of it because it pays off, that we are very strictly looking who is doing what with the formats we are selling. Because we are not selling to a streamer in this case, because then people would have to pay for this content. No, it has to go to a public broadcaster because it's free. And then, so every kid can access it and can profit and can watch it. So, and that's actually a little bit our contribution to responsibility to programming.
And just one word, maybe on a more general point of view. Unless you are the few who are at the top of the food chain, most of our job is to seduce the writers, seduce the producers, seduce the broadcasters, seduce the distributors. And that's what we do. And to seduce, you have to know the market, your target. And also you have to propose some solutions. And it comes from the concept to the end of the line, which is to deliver a show. You have to bring solutions to your concept itself. How does it work and how it could be better? Concept for the production, concept for the financement and everything. And that's really, talking about broadcaster, but it's the same with the streamers, it's the same with the distributors. It's really about bringing them solutions to seduce them and to convince them to give you a lot of money.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Actually, I just want to give you one quick example. I mean, being the creative aspect of a producer. So there was a Hungarian producer who managed to actually use a sponsored, literally, it's a scripted series. It's a comedy series that first he approached Telecom Hungary with his project, and they really liked it. So at the very end of the day, He produced it. He's in, I don't know, it's his third season. It went everywhere. All the broadcasters took it. Whoever definitely had a partnership with Telecom, because everybody has a partnership with Telecom. So it served all the boxes. And it's
How is it a commercial?
It's Hungarians Go to Mars or something.
And who was the sponsor? How is it?
It's Telecom.
Oh, okay.
Telecom.
So they were
Telecom Germany, Hungarian branch of Telecom Germany.
So essentially, they were a commissioner.
Yes, they were the
okay.
commissions. Yes.
But
So
that's a solution. That's a
Yeah,
way
yeah.
to
So
find
it's
solutions.
It's just another version of a commissioner.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it's a successful show. You can try all new things to come on board. And it was on two main commercial broadcaster groups, so everybody took it. So it's highly successful. So there are options, creative options to go on. But of course, in Hungary, for example, the producers are, as I mentioned to you earlier, so they're not so autonomous, not so independent in how they're thinking, because NFI supports most of their projects, so it's easy to go and apply for state funds. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. But they don't think too much outside the box. So now everybody's trying to educate themselves, or we also trying to educate them to be more creative on this phase. And one more thing, at NFI, for example, the scripted projects, especially the TV series, are all co-funded with a broadcaster, either the public broadcaster or a commercial broadcaster. Otherwise, they don't fly. We're not able to support them financially.
Okay, I agree with that. I'm going to push slightly to the international landscape with the 8 minutes we have left. I think we're about halfway through the process now. We've had the idea, we've negotiated, it's been compromised, but we're okay with it. And now we're doing some more heated renegotiation. So I think also we've been talking about sort of quite local, regional or regional kind of conversations. Another thing we talked about on the panel again was how culturally it can be difficult when you start exploring into international markets. Dana, you made this brilliant point about how the culture of no is kind of different. The culture of no, how the word no is received differently in different parts of the world.
Oh. But the culture of what?
No.
No, as
Oh,
being
the
told
culture of
no.
Oh, well, that has to do with, previously on the previous panel, somebody said the world is getting flatter and closer. Actually, the more I work internationally, the more I realize how different we are. And how, just the way that we communicate things and how we try to sell or set up projects, it's also so very, very different. And I can speak for, where I come from in Israel. We never accept no for an answer. It's almost like a recommendation, and we'll come back. Anybody who's tried to deal with Israelis or work with Israelis will know this. We'll just come through the window or through the door or through the back door, or we'll try again and again and again until we get our way. Other cultures are obviously much more reserved, and they don't try as hard. And kind of sit back and hope for things to come to them. But there's also, I've just been pitching in the US these last couple of weeks, and I haven't done that for a while. And I realized what no really means, which is fast. At least, here in Europe, we could spend years and years talking about the same thing, going from one player to another, trying to get this broadcaster, that LOI, or that fund, or apply again, or reapply. And keep at it. In the U.S., it's so fast and quick, and it's just, you kind of go in, you pitch you've got a 45-minute slot, you make small talk for about 10 of it, and then you pitch your little heart out, everybody ends on, oh, that's wonderful, thank you, and then you get a call from your agent saying, that's a pass. That's it. And that's it, that's done. Don't come back.
The rest of you ever experienced these kind of culture shock?
But it's the same when we talk about distribution, because when we buy a TV series, we know the market, what we're supposed to know the market. So we know that in some territories it might work, and in some territories it will never work. So when we estimate the show, we take that into account. That we know that for the US, if you're not a native English-speaking show, you won't be able to sell it unless some very little streamer. You know that in Eastern Europe or Russia, we don't sell to Russia anymore, but or Scandi, you know there is some red flag on those territories. And so that's very important to know the market again. And it's part culture, part... No, let's say part culture, without going too much into details. But that's really about it. That's it's the same, in fact, in the same way on a local territory than globally.
And I do want to say about No, it used to be, a lot of us have either pitched to streamers, worked with streamers, want to work with streamers. And I will say their culture has changed significantly in the, I think, 8 or 9 years that they've been international, since 2016. And it used to be their mantra, at least for Netflix, was there are many ways to yes. And now I would say there's only one route to no. It used to be, if you couldn't get through the US team, then you try the domestic team or the London team, or you try, they used to be by genres. So you had a long-running series, you had limited run series, you had made-for-TV. Now everything's been consolidated to the point that you need to only pitch to your territory, and if that's a no, that's a no.
Yeah.
And there's a system in place for things that get pitched to them. They get filed. You can't try again. You don't want to go around your person either, because you're going to get called out. And it's become very lean and very mean. Sorry if anybody's heard from Netflix, but at least they're very good. I will say this, we kind of talked about what directives and DNA and how do you know who to, they're very good. They're extremely good about giving guidance about what they are and what they're not. And when that changes, and it changes every 18 months or so, if you're doing your job and you're talking to these buyers or you're talking to the Netflix, you will know. And then you'll either recalibrate your project or wait it out or go to someone else. And I think as a producer, I'd rather know that than develop in a vacuum, rather than not knowing what people want.
Okay, so we've pitched the project. We sold the idea. We've got the investment. We were told no, but it was in Israel, so it was fine. We went back and got it anyway. We've made the thing. What are we going to do with it now? It's a movie. Let's take it to a festival. Warning, this was a slightly controversial topic.
Or a series into a festival. That's the new. I mean, there's so many series festivals now.
Yeah, indeed.
So we take it to a festival. It wins some awards. So it's going to be a commercial success, right?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No, it might be. It might be, of course, but talking about distribution, TV series distribution, which is way different. We talk about feature film or documentaries. So just TV series distribution, it's always good to have a price, always very interesting, and it's really valuable, but it's not a price who will make good money, unfortunately. That is the same thing that a good concept won't be necessarily a successful TV series. It's just, if it's good, okay, we have a price, we can have something, a billboard before the show, but that's all. Talking only about business, that's all.
Tibor, you take a lot of stuff to festivals, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do, but I have to agree that these are two different animals. So the issue is that, for example, I don't know in other countries, a show like an Academy Award, Oscar.
We're talking
coverage.
TV.
Of course.
I'm talking about.
Of course.
No, I'm saying, okay, so
Golden Globe Oscar is different.
You know, we Hungarians are very much into celebrities. We adore the celebrities. But even an Oscar show is watched with very, very few people are watching these kind of award shows. So people don't really have this perception. Okay, this won this big prize, or it won the Cannes Film Festival, Palme d'Or, or whatever. So we have to rush to theaters, or we have to watch it on TV. It's, that perception is not there. So obviously, people and in Hungary, people are so conservative, so they even watch the same movie, the same show over and over again, the repeats and everything. So either, have a extreme experience with BBC sitcom, which is called You Rang My Lord. I don't know who heard about this. When we realized it, because it was with the podcast, so we wanted to relicense from BBC. It was a BBC show. BBC was looking at us. You're kidding me? Why do you want to buy this show? I'm sorry, but this is crap. We're not selling to anybody, not even in Central Eastern Europe. Yes, yeah, because it's NEM successful. So that's a show of 30 years old, and people watch it again and again and again. So it's really hard to bring something new, something fresh, to educate a bit them. Okay, you should give it a try because you're going to like it. And sometimes there are sleeper hits. So you watch you try to introduce properly, especially when I was at the TV. We try to introduce shows. For example, Lost was how we managed, because we were a bit afraid at that time it's not going to work, and we had a very good strategy, and it became a huge hit in Hungary. So it's like we have these difficulties on how to, but definitely festival and. That's not, they never come.
I mean, this is also natural because festival is B2B mostly. It's an industry festival. Yeah. And if you air it or you have an audience, it's a sort of different task. Yeah. I mean, our perfect example is the series Last Socialist Artifact versus The Silence 4 years ago. Two wonderful series out of the region. Last Socialist Artifact won 6 prizes in Sarajevo, all prizes. Our series, The Silence, won nothing. Producer was devastated. But in the end, The Silence was sold very well. I mean, a great success all over the world. And nobody knows Last Socialist Artifact anymore. But in the region, it was a great success because it was not sold. It doesn't have a sales agent. Nobody saw it, simply. I mean, it's a question of availability. It's a question of how it's exposed to the market, how the people have, or the audience have access to the market. And I mean, it's not always about the quality of a program.
Yeah. Let's not forget that the most watched show on Netflix are Suits. NCI is now 24th season, so they are very, very good shows. But that's not high concept. That's not very. But that's maybe they won some awards. But that's most watched show on Netflix.
No high concept, but quality, but good quality.
Exactly. So, the difference between concept and treatment.
Quality is, I mean, if we open up what is quality on televion, that'll take us another day.
If we can add more 40 minutes, then we can go into quality.
Yeah. But I just, somebody said to me recently this great quote, which I want to share, and they said, an idea to a series is like a fling to a marriage, right? And the difference between having a fling and having a marriage and the kind of work that takes versus taking an idea and making it into a series. I would also extend that to festivals, right? Having something successful at a festival does not mean it's gonna have legs outside of that B2B world Anna was referring to. And you need to know how to define success as well, and outside of our little bubble. And kind of goes back to, who's going to watch.
But nevertheless, prizes are important. Festivals are
They're fun, too. It's okay to have fun and celebrate your success.
Because awareness is important.
Exactly.
Spreading the idea is important.
It's good to finish on love.
Functional for B2B, therefore NEM Awards more important than the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And with that, you won the heart of the...
So we're about to finish. I will whiz through very quickly. You guys have so much experience in this field. Give me the one thing that you have learned from your experience, that gem of knowledge that you had a wow moment. I'm going to start with the person who's looking least surprised by my question, Emmanuel. Learning to pass on, 5 words or less.
5 words. Well, I'd say the most important thing in our job, besides seducing our partner, is work. It's stupid to say, but having a good concept is nothing if you don't work the concept, if you don't work with people, and that's the main thing if you want to go from concept to capital.
Perfect.
I would say one concept is not a concept. You have to have more concepts in your mind, your brain, and even written down. And if one concept doesn't work, you go to another. So I think that's also a mistake, that people are really sticking to one concept and they never develop anything else after that. That's the mistake.
Dana.
Watch television
Watch
a
television.
lot. Love television, and really love the medium. And I unfortunately meet too many people who are snobs and come into this business because they've done film and now they understand the money's in television and want to do it that way. That does not work. It will never work. Really love it. Learn from great television, learn from bad television, rewatch things that you like that work. You have to know, it's like if I'm an English literature major, you have to know the canon, you have to know the basics in order to be able to analyze, and that's the same thing. So
television as a source
make television
of
if you love
inspiration.
television.
Television as a source of inspiration.
Alex.
5 words.
Or less. Or less. You have one.
Yeah, patience. I think it's a thing. I think that trust it's another thing that needs to be much more nurtured, and do the homework, because not everything that exists means that it cannot re-exist again, and nothing that doesn't exist that cannot be done.
Love it.
So,
Anna, take us home.
Don't take a no too personal.
Thank you for that.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you so much to my audience, and thank you to my panelists. Yeah.